offense in the Central Conference this season with 20 goals for. Mandy, how can Aurora stymie this Riverlight attack?
Yeah, the conditions are definitely going to play a factor. We have the wind, but you also have the excessive heat that's going on the pitch tonight. So it's going to be really important that Aurora stays organized and they're communicating across the field. They've done a great job this season thus far with communicating to each position. So it's really going to be making sure that they're mentally staying in tune with each other as the minutes wear on with this heat.
Riverlight heating up at the right time down the stretch, trying to stay alive in the playoff hunt as we take a look at our Heartland Division standings entering match day 11. Riverlight needs a win to stay alive in this playoff hunt. Meanwhile, Aurora FC finds themselves 7 points clear of second place Riverlight. It's win and you're in for Minnesota. A win clinches them a spot in the 2025 USLW League playoffs. Should they do that, they would become the first team in league history to appear in all 4 postseason tournaments. We'll head to break, starters, and kick when we return to Eagan. It's Riverlight FC and Aurora FC. In Eagan, Minnesota, almost set for kickoff in the second matchup of 2025 between Riverlight FC and Aurora FC. The starting 11 for Minnesota Aurora FC and head coach Jen Larrett going with a 5-4-1. 5 changes across this 11 for Larrett, including Kat Rapp, who again will anchor that midfield. Really an emphasis this season on utilizing the transitional space.
Yeah, Kat's been phenomenal in general. She's just so good on the ball. You want to get her into space, being able to create going forward. So it'll be another good opportunity to see her basically control and dominate the tempo that this team wants to play at.
Riverlight FC and head coach Jared Appel, they counter with a 4-4-2, utilizing that diamond midfield this afternoon. How does that help Riverlight control the pace and the tempo of this game?
Well, you're going to see Riverlight wants to dominate the center of the pitch. So when you get that diamond midfield, you're saying we want to control the central space. We're going to be okay with you having the ball out wide, but what we're not going to allow you to do is break us down through the middle. On the flip side, offensively, it gives them that opportunity. They have a lot of short passing options through the middle. So their game plan is going to be to connect those passes and try to progress as a team moving forward.
Jared Appel told us this week that in the first matchup, a 2-0 loss for Riverlight earlier this year at home against Aurora FC, he felt like they did not do a good enough job with those combination plays to create overloads. A real emphasis from this Riverlight coaching staff this evening on being a more decisive, quicker passing team.
Yeah, and the structure and the shape in which he's starting his team out really shows that. You know, we said it again, the diamond shape, you have players that are immediately in a good supporting role for the player on the ball. So you're always going to have those two short options, hopefully a longer option as well. But again, it's really important to always have those two options.
This match that was originally scheduled for 4 p.m. Central Time was moved back 3.5 hours because of just how hot it is in the Twin Cities. Temps soaring over 90 degrees today. Excessive heat warnings in place. Just about set to go in this fourth all-time matchup as the whistle sounds, and we are underway in Eagan, Minnesota. Stephanie McFarland, our center referee this evening for a matchup of the top two teams in this Heartland Division. Since Riverlight joined not just the Central Conference, but the USLW League as a whole ahead of last season, they have transformed into Aurora's stiffest competition within this division, as that's a long ball over the top that will go skipping out, and a goal kick awarded to Nadia Cooper for Aurora in goal for the 5th time this season. Riverlight stands as the only team in the regular season to score multiple goals in a single match against Aurora, just one of 3 teams to do so all time. They scored the opener in 2 of the last 3 matchups between these teams, including twice last season.
We're going to get to see early on how the wind's going to impact how this field plays, but as well as the heat. We talked about that those temperatures getting close to 100, feels like close to over 100, and how much warmer it actually is on turf.
Trying to slip that ahead to Kat Rapp, intercepted by Westland and cleared away. There's Olivia Duray with it in the midfield for Riverlight. Aurora coming out with that aggressive posture, that high press they've become so synonymous with over these last few seasons. This is a Riverlight team, though, that also likes to play in that aggressive stance. If you're Aurora, how do you manage going forward with aggression, but also walking that line of not being too aggressive?
So part of it is you're going to need players behind you to help tell you when your team is ready to go. So if you're not organized behind the ball, you don't want to send your forward to go and start pressing right away, because you could get overloaded on numbers. You could also be exposing space that they're not prepared to defend. So it's going to be really important that you're communicating from the back forward, so every player knows when we're going, what is the trigger, how we want to press.
Aurora on the move. It's given up out wide to Westland. Trying to roll that in behind to Tavana and knocked out of play. Hayes will have the throw in for Aurora, coming off the win 2-1 against Sioux Falls. Long throw in toward that 18, knotted away initially by Green. And now Green will boot this away for a clearance.
Really like this from Charlie here. She has time and space. Aurora has numbers up high. Really, we just want to find feet in that situation.
An errant pass will go out. Change of possession occurs via the throw-in. Twin Cities Orthopedics and Training House, powered by TCO, are proud to be the official sports medicine and performance providers for Minnesota Aurora FC. Together, TCO and Training House are trusted by some of the biggest names in sport and bring that same level of care to our athletes. Our Aurora sideline team is led by team physician Dr. Christine Heikes, athletic trainer Danielle Armstrong, and sports performance coach Erica Golsner, and physical therapists Alexis Marshall and Kelsey Majerus. Thank you, TCO and Training House, for being a part of our team. Visit TCOMN.com and TrainingHouse.com to learn more. Long ball over the top. Kat Rapp will run that down. 6 goal contributions this season for Rapp. She'll get it back out wide. Well defended by Taylor Green, the Bowling Green former All-MAC freshman team selection, as that's knocked out. Aurora will have the throw in. Once again, trying to utilize wide spaces like we've seen Jen Larrick's bunch do this season. Traditionally, down the left-hand channel with those 9 goals generated, but an emphasis early on trying to expose spacing on the right-hand side. Whipped in and headed away.
Jake, I really expect us to see a lot of Aurora having the ball out in the wide spaces because of River Light's shape.
Here's River Light on the move. Plenty of speed for Berkeley Mensick, trying to lead Callie Chiarelli forward, and just out of the reach of Chiarelli. It goes for an Aurora throw. There, though, on display, how quickly River Light can get out on those transitional moments. They do have 6 counter-attacking goals for this season. For Aurora, both of the goals given up in the back-to-back matches away against Sioux Falls City this past week were transitional goals.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's something River Light watched in film, is how can they take advantage for a team that holds possession so as well as Aurora does. That's going to be the moment you're really going to want to pick apart, because their shape is so spread out. There's going to be space. There's going to be situations at which you can take advantage. So it's just more so selecting the right pass in the right moment when you get that transition.
Mensick pulls that ball in, and now River Light under some duress here at the back.
And early on, we can already see River Light has done a good job keeping possession of the ball, finding space in behind here.
Up ahead, out in front, slotted toward goal, skipping wide. Pleading for a foul is River Light. They won't get it. Instead, it's a goal kick awarded.
And this is really the first time all season that I've seen a team this early on in a match hold the ball as well as River Light has. So with the heat, with the fact that Aurora's not touching the ball nearly as to the extent that they're used to, it's going to be interesting to see how they continue to adapt and adjust. Do they continue to high press? Do they start with a line of confrontation?
Roberts, the captain, long throw in down this near channel. Miller trying to give chase, rather Rogers that is, and Cooper comes out. Bit of an errant distribution there, and it concedes a corner to River Light FC. 1 corner goal for this season for the visitors from Aurora, Illinois. Last season in this facility, River Light took an early advantage off a set piece goal on this end of things. So strong on corners is River Light. Chiarelli lifts it, back stick, nodded down toward goal and toward Cooper, who makes the grab. Her 7th save of 2025.
And I like the idea of that driven ball. So it's not so much as flow as it is driven in with pace, because it's easier for players to redirect towards goal with pace actually on it. So although they don't get the opportunity to finish at goal, it's at least a dangerous situation for them.
Back on it again is River Light, counter pressing now. Fink looking to roll this in behind. Too much weight behind that ball, and it's out for another goal kick. Early on, though, River Light are being the aggressors, and they are causing issues at the back for Aurora with this aggressive high press.
Yeah, I really like that River Light is choosing moments to go forward. So it's not just a long ball after a long ball. They've connected several times. They've connected into the midfielder. They've dropped it back to a back. They've also looked to play a little bit longer over the top of Aurora's back line. So they're finding some variety. So it's making it a little bit harder for Aurora to predict what is coming next.
River Light will have the throw as their captain, Emily Roberts, Loyola Chicago product, will toss it back in. Looking for Fink. A short clearance away from Conte. Now Zbilic trying to turn on it, and she goes down. A foul given to Jelena Zbilic and Minnesota Aurora, rather a free kick that is.
And that's really well done from Cat Rapp to realize they're taking away the back pass option. So she just naturally floats down into the midfield, makes it really easy for Jelena to find a simple pass, switch the field, and we continue to progress. Trying to turn this upfield, and Aurora do. Nodded over toward Westland. Now Tavana pulls it in. Guided out wide. Here is Mariah Wynn. Wynn, edge of the area. Well defended again by River Light. That's Emily Roberts coming in, and when Aurora has gotten into that final third, River Light has done a good job of collapsing in on the ball so far. Yeah, what I would have really liked to have seen there, Mariah's in a great 1v1 situation, but there's no teammate to change the defender's body positioning or decision making. So if you get a secondary player, it either opens up space for the player making the run, or it possibly opens up space for Mariah. Rogers with the interception. Zbilic will ride her off the ball. Now gives it up to Boone. Tight roping that touchline. Ball falls back to Mariah Wynn. Racing in for it. Collision. Wynn goes down. And no foul given. Cleared out. These are the moments, though, that Aurora start to become so dangerous when they're able to find ways to keep possession in this end of things. Get the defense rotated around. Yeah, it's really important for a team who has historically had a lot of possession in games to, when they haven't had it consistently in the first 5-10 minutes, to start finding a little bit of a rhythm. And that's going to be 1- and 2-touch passes. That's going to be making sure players are getting their foot on the ball. Zbilic's cross blocked out. Aurora will have it deep in this end of things. It's a throw, not a corner. Tight in this corner. Given back up, Zbilic. Still Zbilic. Tries to cross, and again cleared away by River Light. Struggling to find emergency options on clearances right now is River Light. Just pinned back deep, and this is where Aurora and Jen Larrick have really made a point to improve upon this season. That high tilt of field and pinning these teams back in their own end of things. And part of that is what we talked about really early on this season. It seems like weeks ago, but it's their rest defense shape. So how players are occupying space when Aurora has the ball. So their back line specifically, you can see hopefully on their screen at some point here, Aurora has a back three at this point in time. So they have a better structure to keep teams pinned into their own defensive half. Wynn nods that forward. Remy Rapp goes down. Whistle sounds from McFarland, and it's a free kick awarded to Aurora FC. 3 free kick goals for this season. And quickly taken now by Minnesota. In, looking for Wynn, has it cleared away. It's another throw for Aurora FC. I personally don't mind that from Jelena. She has really good awareness, sees Mariah. There's no defender really paying attention, so it's not until the ball is played that defenders actually start reacting. So well done to keep her head up and be aware. Boone cycles this around as Asa Conte getting another start this season for Conte. Her pass intercepted. On the move now is Berkeley Minsick and River Light FC. Minsick sprinting forward with it. Hayes able to recover. Goal kick awarded. And Hayes just does a fantastic job utilizing her body. She doesn't need to do anything with the ball, just protect it. More than anything is just protecting it. Let it run over the end line. Get yourself a goal kick. Boone looking for options forward. Intercepted at that midfield stripe. Catella with the takeaway. Mariah Wynn returns the favor, though, and now Aurora trying to progress back forward.
Vincent couldn't settle on it. Now here's Tavana sidestepping a challenge from Bodensteiner. Conte turns, whips this ball ahead. One thing that River Light have employed early on, not just that high press, but showing a bit of physicality and aggressiveness, trying to make Aurora uncomfortable. Within the lines of play, of course, but as soon as they give the ball, a little extra bump there. As a former player, as a coach, what does that do to a team's mentality?
You know, it really depends on the personality of your team. For some teams, it's going to be something that knocks you off your game a little bit because you're thinking about the contact versus what's actually happening. I think for this Aurora group, it's not going to faze them too much. They're going to be very aware, but it is going to create a more physical game overall because it's not a team that's going to back away from that type of challenge.
River Light not afraid to mix things up and get physical. 90 fouls whistled for this season coming into this match. As Hayes, walking up that far touchline, will win a throw-in for Aurora. Amber Hayes, the Memphis Tiger, with the throw-in. Left it a bit short. Able to win it back, though.
Well done to win it, secure it. She finds Asa, who's facing forward. Now Aurora can look to build their shape again. Be patient with the ball. Having the ball today is going to be your best friend. With this heat, this is your moment to kind of breathe and relax. So just enjoy the ball.
Boone gets rid of it. Wynn goes down, and there's another whistle. As Mariah Wynn, looks like the left boot came off, has to readjust. Play restarted by Zbilic. And here's Rapp with it. Kat Rapp, 6 goal contributions this season for the club's all-time leader in goals and points. Now Tavana sticks a foot in. This rolled up ahead, and Vipinski will claim that. Molly Vipinski, the 19-year-old out of Illinois. You want to talk about a productive player in net. The former Chicago City SC netminder comes over to this River Light side. Currently on an academy deal with the Carolina Ascent of the USL Super League.
That's a really good tackle right there.
McFarland will sound the whistle. Motions both teams over to their respective touchlines, and an early water break given to these sides. Temperatures soaring over 90 degrees today, and as you mentioned, on turf, it plays a lot hotter. Can you remember a time where you played on a turf surface where it felt this hot?
Actually, I can. When I was playing for the Des Moines Menace, when they used to have a WPSL team, I know we had a game in July against, at that time, Chicago Red Stars reserves. So, yeah, it's definitely a challenge. It's not just that it's a single game. Aurora's coming off just a previous game against Sioux Falls City under similar conditions. So it's the accumulation of an intense season, but now also the heat building in as well. So it takes time for your body to recover. And I like that Coach Larrick's continued to mix the lineup up. You know, it's really important that these players get time to recover, especially the fact that they are going to be going back to their college seasons very shortly.
The look on Mariah Wynn from Minnesota Aurora's face says it all. The drenched, sopping cold towel over the head. Look, I can't complain too much, right? We're in an air-conditioned press box. But I will say, the 30 seconds I've spent outside today, it's hot. I do not envy these players. They are real warriors down there battling it out. And so are the fans here in attendance that have come out. A great crowd turnout. We just showed you pans across this stadium. Aurora numerous times this year, north of 4,000, 5,000 in attendance. So much focus for this club, Minnesota Aurora FC, has been on the way they've been able to bond with this community and generate real fan support. And we are seeing that across all levels. We've talked about this a lot off air, Mandy. Across all levels of soccer in this country, especially professional, pre-professional women's soccer, there obviously is a real appetite for soccer at every level. But first, this shot sent toward goal and skipping wide. A very nearly costly mistake for Asa Conte and Aurora FC.
You know, Jake, you talk about that, and I know we had Aurora had the opportunity for some merch. Ask me about women's sports. And I think this is just the start of what we're going to continue to see as a continuously growing trend. So I'm really excited to see where the game continues to go. The national team, for the longest of times, I remember watching the 99 World Cup and how the game has grown since that time period, but just the success of the women's team in general, and it's the values in which they stood for as well as a group have helped pave the way for young generations to consistently grow.
Camber Hayes with it, trying to chug forward with that ball and instead turns it over. A whistle from McFarland will bring a stoppage to it. But going back to it, though, we mentioned Carolina-St in the USL Super League because that's an equally important part of this process. We are seeing WPSL Pro generating interest, a new professional league that is coming. USL Super League just completed its inaugural season, crowning its inaugural champion in Tampa Bay Sun. Had a chance to talk to a couple Super League coaches earlier this year as that hacked away for a clearance from Aurora FC and out for a Riverlight throw. Had a chance to talk to a couple Super League coaches, though, earlier this year, and they said Fort Lauderdale, Carolina, Tampa Bay, they've all found ways in their inaugural seasons to create atmospheres very similar to this, where fans are very invested and bought in. And it really does speak to how far the women's game has come in terms of that fan support, the monetary investment, and really just the overall interest. As Riverlight on it again, it's Sydney Fink out wide. Fink toward that end line, one back by Asakante.
I really like Tavana getting underneath Ava there. That's something we haven't seen quite as much of. Aurora's 9 being able to receive the ball, having an immediately supporting option underneath her.
A crafty pass found Tavana free, whose cross was blocked away. Early on, it's been a very transitional game for both teams. Both sides finding space to move fluid through these middle portions of the pitch. If you're Riverlight FC, who's on the move with it now, as we mentioned at the top of our broadcast, wanting to be a better passing team, have to limit some of these mistakes in that midfield. It's taken away again by Mariah Wynn. Knifing around challenges. Gives it up to Diamond. Advantage played.
And Jake, that's really a moment. You just have a player who's taken 3, 4, 5 touches, a pass here and there. It's not going back into that space because defenders are already there. They've had enough time to adjust and get numbers around the ball. You want to switch the field at that point in time and attack a new space, find some numbers, but at least force the defenders to have to stretch out again.
Spielic will fling that ball back forward. Short-lived possession for Aurora. Here's Berkeley Minsick now. 4 goals to her credit. Team leader on the underlapping run. She'll pull this ball down. Minsick stands a cross up, deflecting around. Still Minsick. Second ball, serve back in. Took a deflection off an Aurora defender.
And you just see the tempo of this game is just a little bit different. It's not a good or a bad thing. It's just how the heat has changed a little bit of how these teams are going to interact. There's going to be periods of high intensity, and then there's going to be moments where both teams are going to slow the game down with the ball at their feet.
Change of possession will occur via that throw in, and Aurora will take over here on this near touchline. Aurora have been content to utilize the wide channels, not just all season, but in this match, whether it be left or right-hand side. As they've gotten expansive, though, it has opened up some space in the middle portions of this pitch. Here is Riverlight FC trying to take advantage of some spacing of their own. Looking for the backheel pass, back to Sydney Fink, cleared away. This is the most consistent, sustained spurt of possession in this end of things we've seen from Riverlight. This ball crossed in, Boone hacking away at it. Pressure kept on for the moment by Bodensteiner, the Duke Blue Devil, who wins a throw in.
A really like what Riverlight has done in that they're looking to combine. They're moving the Aurora defenders, but then they're finding the next quick option. Execution hasn't always been there, as you can see in those moments. However, they're starting to find feet more consistently, and they're able to switch the field more succinctly because they have those interior options.
Long throw seeking Fink. Just pops over her head, and Asakante will steer this back to Nadia Cooper. Already one save in this contest for Cooper. Riverlight with 3 shots, 1 on target. An errant pass out will give possession back to Riverlight FC. One thing that Jared Appel said this week, Riverlight's first-year head coach, they have a similar mentality to Aurora in we'd rather score in 2 than in 10, meaning they'd rather score in 2 passes than connect in 10. Want to try to get forward very quickly, but they are having success settling in and connecting balls around. As this lifted over the top, Sydney Fink with it. Here's Fink. Wants to step inside, and instead it's a goal clearance awarded to Nadia Cooper.
And you know, you say that, and one of the things to think about is a team's first option is always to look at goal. And so it's just understanding that teams that like to have the ball, it just means that they're not going to sacrifice having the ball to try to force something that's not there. So it's understanding, yes, we're going to want to progress as quickly as we can and go forward as quickly as we can if it's on.
High press wins it back for Riverlight. Emergency clearance away from Asakante. In stride, here's Rapp. Rapp pulls up. Now Kat Rapp goes down behind the play.
I'm thinking her foot just got stepped on the top right there.
Play continues on as Riverlight with it. Callie Chiarelli will boot it out of play. And now McFarland, our center referee, will sound the whistle for an injury stoppage to check on the status of Kat Rapp. Back to her feet, walking a bit gingerly, but walking under her own power nonetheless.
Well, I can tell you, 2 players running, if your foot gets stepped on the top, that can leave a significant bone bruise. So it's not something just simple where it's, yep, you're continuing to just walk it off. Like, that can do damage. So we'll see how Kat responds to this and how severe it is.
Play will get back underway with the drop ball from our center referee, Stephanie McFarland, and play does resume. Nearly a half hour elapsed, still no score in this contest. Riverlight, though, have been the aggressors early on. They lead in shots, on target, and right now controlling the possession as well. This switched out wide, but left short. Hayes turns this upfield. Vapinski a bit slow to read it. Short clearance away. Now here is Westland. Had the keeper off her line and fired it over the bar.
And I like that first look from Ava. Kat does a phenomenal job. She has the pace to challenge, makes it uncomfortable for their whole entire back line of Riverlight. Ava's able to quickly get her head up, see that they're still recovering, and just tries to ping it over the top of the keeper.
Looked up this near touchline, initially intercepted by Zbilic, who goes down, and there's a whistle for another foul against Callie Chiarelli.
And you can see how different Riverlight has chosen to even address these dead ball moments. And a set piece, they're automatically looking to cut off the backward pass, so they're forcing Aurora to be a little bit more direct and into a space that they want to dictate.
Rolled up ahead, here's Wen. Now Wen will step inside. Tries to weave back out. Wen's cross, headed away. Mariah Wen able to pick the pieces up initially for Aurora. Guides that out of play, and Riverlight will quickly race forward for this throw in. These last 10 minutes have been marked by Riverlight being a bit quicker, one step faster to the ball. Their passing has been a bit crisper than what we saw in those first 10 minutes, and it has put some pressure on this Aurora defense.
Yeah, we'll see what kind of consistency they can maintain. I really like this so far from them. Again, that having that extra internal option has been harder for Aurora to deal with because they are defending in a 4-4-2. So they're having to adjust in closed space. And again, Aurora's not man marking. That's part of a growing trend in the women's game in general outside of college soccer. A lot of college soccer is man marking, but if you look at professional levels around the globe, it is changing to zone and has been for a while now. So Coach Larrick really focusing on making sure players are prepared for that type of environment. So now this is going to provide a little bit more of a challenge. How do you eliminate those internal passing options?
Boone has to clear that out of play under duress from Sydney Fink. A late addition to this starting 11 is the Kentucky Wildcat, Sydney Fink. Been flying around on this ball early on in this first half. North of 20 touches already for Fink.
And you can tell we're anticipating a longer throw.
Long throw from Roberts in toward goal, headed out by Conte.
And Riverlight has to be happy with earning a corner just from a throw in there.
Second corner of this first half. Both lie with Riverlight FC as Chiarelli will be the trigger person from this near flag. Second season with Riverlight FC for Chiarelli. Back post, headed in! For the third time in the last 4 matchups, Riverlight go out in front thanks to Sydney Fink's header, 1-0.
And Jake, we talked about it on the first corner here. The ball doesn't have as much loft on it. It is driven in a bit more. So just the fact of the matter is the ball coming in, all the attacking player has to do, just get over the top of it, redirect it, and it will help keep the momentum. So she does a great job getting over the top to drive the ball down.
That is textbook, off the training ground stuff for Riverlight FC as Sydney Fink gets her second of 2025. Now that we have reached the half-hour mark, another hydration break has been awarded to these teams. It seems like this sun just does not want to set, has been hanging right in this far corner of TCO Stadium.
This is going to be an important moment for Aurora. On the sideline, you can see there's a little bit of information being relayed as far as what coaches are expecting. I'm expecting this to be more of a defensive shift from the Aurora versus for a Riverlight. They're going to feel good coming in off this hydration break. 1 goal up, and now it's, can we be consistent? Can we continue to keep the ball at our feet? Can we continue to find the right pass with the right pace in the right moment?
Aurora trailing a goal for just the second time this season. Only the 7th time in club history they have gone down a goal first. The only other time Aurora has gone down a goal in 2025. Earlier this year, back in May against RKC Third Coast, in which they responded with 4 consecutive goals in that game. Players will trot back out on the pitch after this hydration break, including Kat Rapp, who we just showed you, who had gone down earlier with the knock, and Rapp still trying to work that foot out that got stepped on earlier in this contest. Westland gets play back going after the goal and the hydration break. A goal in the 30th minute for Sydney Fink. The 8th first half goal of 2025 for Riverlight FC.
And you can tell how important that goal was to Riverlight. Game restarts, and it's almost as if they're coming out at minute 0 again because they're flying around. They're feeling confident, even giving away a foul. They're showing, hey, I'm here to play today. Like, we don't care who you are. This is our game that you're going to have to take from us.
Rapp looking to roll it ahead to Rami Rapp. That pass cut off, and Fink will corral it in. Josh Appel, Riverlight FC coach, he called the first 30 minutes of this contest the most crucial to his team's success. And wouldn't you know it, right at that 30th minute mark, his team comes through. A free kick awarded to Riverlight FC. Riverlight went up a goal back in June of 2024, the last time these teams played here at TCO Stadium. This play back underway off the free kick. Aurora responded with 3 consecutive goals in that fixture before Riverlight pulled a late goal back to make things very interesting in the final 5 minutes. Now whipped ahead. DeRay trying to run it down, cannot before it reaches the end line, and Nadia Cooper will have another goal kick.
Well, the thing is here, you still have another 60 minutes to really, again, establish a new rhythm, to kind of settle yourself in again and go back and reevaluate, okay, how do we manage being a goal down? This isn't a situation that Aurora has found themselves in very often throughout the last 4 years, for that matter. And so to be able to, like, understand, okay, how do we want to organize? How do we want to continue to attack? How do we adjust defensively? These are all really important questions and problems for this team to have to solve as they're continuing to go after the postseason.
Conversely for Riverlight, as we touched on at the top of our broadcast, they are not out of this fight. Mathematically, it does not look necessarily on their side with 2 matches still left, trailing by 7 points in the divisional chase, but they are still alive in this playoff fight, and they are showing in this contest, fighting tooth and nail for every inch. Since that 15th minute mark, Riverlight have been the better team in this first half in all phases right now.
Well, and really, Riverlight is playing for their postseason life or death, for lack of a better phrasing, because if they lose this game, they're eliminated. So that is it for them. So this is a playoff game for them. So they have that mentality. They have a crowd that they're playing in front of. I'll bet it's an Aurora crowd. So really getting those fans back involved is going to be really important for Aurora moving forward.
Here's Mensick with it. Cuts to her right. Mensick stopped by Cooper. Berkeley Mensick coming off a career-best 5-point campaign with Notre Dame a season ago. Already 4 goals in the USLW League this offseason, as Cooper's distribution gets things back going. DeRay racing forward out of a crowd with it. Now Olivia DeRay shifting out wide. Here's DeRay, squares in front, and Cooper will lunge on top of it again. Riverlight FC are finding real options down these outside channels right now.
And part of it just is it's their confidence going into every moment. You can tell they're attacking at Aurora players. They're not trying to go around them. They're attacking at them, which is forcing decisions from Aurora defenders. And it's forcing those decisions quicker and maybe not something they're as accustomed to in a game-like setting.
Diamond goes to ground. Wynn will pull that ball in. Now here's Zbilic guiding this upfield. Nodded away. Mensick, though, coughs it up. Here's Rami Rapp with it. Options. Works it ahead. Tavana. Still Tavana. Shot is blocked. Now Riverlight trying to break out.
Conversely, what Riverlight has done really well is defensively, when they're defending it in that transition moment of when they win the ball, they have immediate outlet and targets that they can play into, and they're getting support underneath so that they can play out and progress.
Defensively, Riverlight doing a good job of frustrating this Aurora offense, and you see the way they're progressing back when Aurora's on the move. 4 yellow shirts back, really playing that good line, is now Tavana rolled ahead to Natalie Tavana. Cut back. Here's Westland. Tavana, edge of the area. Tavana lifts it in. A short clearance away from Riverlight. Diamond has her pocket picked. Looking for Fink on the give and go. Not there is Sydney Fink, the goal scorer so far in this contest.
And look how congested the side where the ball is. This is where Aurora needs to start moving the ball a bit quicker. Get out of the space that you were just playing in, continuing to move it.
Here's Hayes. Hayes lifting this in. Out comes Popinski. who will claim that. They've tried in this first half, Aurora have, to get that long ball going and peel the top off this defense. But River Light not falling for it in these first near 40 minutes.
Yeah, early on it seemed like there was a bit more space to play in behind against the River Light back line, but now you can start to see Aurora's starting to get numbers shifted to the backside and getting numbers higher, but what River Light's back line is doing is they're actually continuing to drop off. So it makes it easier when the ball is played for them to come forward and attack it, and they're also better prepared than for a transitional moment. So what we want to kind of maybe start seeing is, yeah, it's okay to still have a runner try to get in behind because you're going to change how a defender reacts to that run, which might make space between the back line and their midfield line, in which case, can you find one of those central options to just sit in a gap? That's all we're looking for a player to do. There are a lot of gaps that players can sit in, so sometimes it's just being patient. It's not always about running. Sometimes it's just about using your vision. Can you get yourself equal distance between defenders, receive the ball, and face up?
Roberts with a throw-in on this near touchline for River Light. That finds Garay. Bodensteiner. Laid back off, looking for Bodensteiner. A bit too long on that pass, and change of possession will occur via the throw-in once more. River Light, though, specifically Sam Bodensteiner, they are content to get her high up the pitch from that outside back spot and help generate some offense.
They've been successful thus far, so if you're continuing to have success, why break it? You continue to go. When it's not working anymore, okay, we can probe somewhere else. However, if you're going to continue to find success, force the defensive team to have to adjust to you.
Fired back forward. Cooper will claim that and run off her line to scoop it up. Nadia Cooper has been very busy in this first half. 4 saves, faced 5 shots from River Light already. Hayes, a little bit of space in front, works this ahead. Flag stays down, it's Wynn. Still Wynn. Lifted up ahead, Rapp nudged away from the ball, and Vapinski will leap off her line for that.
And the reason that initial longer pass is more successful is the River Light back line is actually higher again. So again, there's space to attack. You got overloaded on the far side. So those are, again, the situations that Aurora is looking for. When it's not that, can you find feet and combine?
That idea of being able to find feet and combine, that's something this River Light coaching staff identified with this team earlier in the week. They had said coming in that they don't want to let these Aurora players to get their eyes up. They know how deadly Aurora can be when they're able to find these channels, combine on these passes. And River Light's defense right now, as you alluded to earlier in this first half, they're getting up in players' faces. They're making them uncomfortable. And through almost an entire first half, Aurora has just felt off kilter. But here they are now. Rami Rapp leading the charge. Tries to lay it off, looking for Ava Westland. Instead, intercepted by the visitors from Illinois. Over on this near side, just rolling out. Taylor Green couldn't keep it in. Former Chicago Dutch Lion defender is Taylor Green. Spent 2023 with that Chicago Dutch Lion side. There's a lot of that to go around on this River Light roster. Heather Pickerington, one of the co-founders of River Light FC, former employee of Chicago Dutch Lion. Of course, with Chicago City and Chicago Dutch Lion merging as well in the offseason, several former Chicago City players, like Amali Vapinski, ex-Grit Pineda, who's not in the 18 today, also making the jump this offseason over to this River Light side. Whipped out wide, here's Zbilic. Again, look at the way Emily Roberts, as evidence of what we were just talking about. As soon as Cooper distributes that out wide to Zbilic, Roberts flying in to go get to her, and Zbilic immediately has to get rid of it.
Well, and one of the things I've actually just been watching is their holding 6 has actually done a pretty good job screening entry passes into Ava Westland. So she's really just looking. She's basically just acting as a shield. She doesn't need to be right on top of her. She just needs to occupy the passing lane. So that's really forcing Aurora to have to find other options in the interior. And part of it is just trying to start finding a little bit of a rotation. So you could see Ava just check down a little bit deeper, but where's the run that's occupying the space that she just left?
Green. Up ahead, Chiarelli whips it out wide toward Fink. And Cooper will race up to grab that. Some troubles at the back now for Summer Diamond, who went down initially. And we'll corral that ball back in. You mentioned the holding 6 earlier in this first half. You talked about entry passes into the 9. For those at home that don't know, what do those numbers correspond to for players?
Yeah, so for Aurora, the Ava Westland is currently playing the 9, which is what we call a striker. So she's a central forward right now. For Riverlight, a 6 is a holding midfielder, so a defensive midfielder. So you're typically a little bit more responsible for helping keep your backline organized. At times you'll drop into the backline. At times you'll rotate higher up the pitch. But for the most part, any of those longer balls coming in, you're responsible for. You got to be strong in the air if you're going to play as a 6.
If you really want to confuse people at home, let's talk about the numerical numbered positions on the field, specifically the zones. Zone 14, for example, right there in front of that 18-yard box as we have a whistle for a foul against Aurora. That's perhaps another conversation for another day.
Yeah, and maybe with some infographics as well.
You're going to make the people back in the truck sweat a little bit. They're quickly, I would assume, probably, oh, we don't have that graphic. What are we doing?
We'll see how much added time we get added here as well.
Officially 2 minutes of added time at the end of this first 45. Whipped out wide by Catella. Headed back toward Nadia Cooper, who will make that grab. Cooper, long distribution ahead, just trying to jumpstart something for Aurora. And the emphasis on something, because there have been limited options going forward through long stretches of this first half. A real testament to the way Riverlight have defended this potent Aurora offense. The 4th highest scoring team in USLW League this season is Minnesota Aurora. Guided out by Roberts, and it will be a throw in for Aurora and Jelena Zbilic.
I really like to see Rami start to get involved a little bit more, start being a little bit more of a focus as far as switching the point of attack. We want to see Kat on the ball driving forward, but Rami's going to be somebody that can get on the ball and help move it side to side, forcing that central forward to really have to get out wide.
Zbilic. Again, long throw, and again, a whistle for a foul against Minnesota. That the 8th foul Aurora have been whistled for in this first 45 minutes. A bit of a frustrating first 45 if you're Aurora FC, as Vipinski will wave players up the pitch to take this free kick herself. Aurora in danger of going into the halftime break scoreless for just the 2nd time in 2025. The only other time that's happened against Sioux Falls City earlier this year at home. Here's Wynn. No one on the receiving end of that for Aurora. Molly Vipinski all over that. Stephanie McFarland sounds the whistle. Halftime has been reached in the Twin Cities. A 30th minute goal off a corner. The difference maker so far for Riverlight, and Sydney Fink, their goal scorer. 6 shots, 5 on target for the visitors, and they lead it 1-0 through 45 minutes of play. We'll head to break. Halftime report on the other side.
Aurora fans, you're watching the Fox 9 Plus Halftime Report.
And welcome to the Aurora Halftime Report. I'm Randy Meyer.
And I'm Kelsey Carlson. Hope you have been enjoying tonight's game. The Aurora playing Riverlight FC at TCO Stadium. Before we go back to the game tonight, let's get you caught up on tonight's headlines.
You can see prices at the pump rise amid the violence in the Middle East. Iran is known for its oil production, but Canada and Mexico are actually the U.S.'s top sources for crude oil. DeHaan says while some have suggested price hikes as much as $7 a gallon, he expects an increase around 10 to 30 cents a gallon.
A state of emergency has been declared in Beltrami County after severe storms and damaging winds wreaking havoc across the area over the weekend. So far, no injuries have been reported, but widespread power outages and damaged infrastructure are impacting many area residents right now.
Let's go to meteorologist Ian Leonard for a check on the weather. Right now, several areas across the state are under tornado watch.
Yeah, you know, you look at the day with the high heat, the high humidity. Off to the southwest, a severe thunderstorm watch until 11. That's where the storms are developing right now, and they'll ride into the tornado watch. That's all of northwest Minnesota. That's in place until 10 p.m. Now, just south of Roseau, we had a tornado warning earlier, a confirmed tornado on the ground, lifted very, very quickly. It is going to be an active night off to the northwest. But you look back toward the metro, storms will also tend to fire here late tonight and work off to the east, possibly arriving in the metro 5 to 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, but should not be severe. Live look outside. Yes, it is hot, it is humid, it is windy, but the heat fades into rumbles overnight. Let me give you a quick idea from the Storm Prediction Center. That's a slight risk of severe weather. 10 p.m. tonight, storms rolling through the watch, but look at the storms develop here along the Minnesota River Valley and work toward the greater metro. Something to keep in mind as we wake up first thing tomorrow morning. All right, let's talk about your 7-day forecast, because the high heat and high humidity are done. Tomorrow, highs in the low 80s. Call it breezy with cloudy periods, morning storms. Tuesday, slightly cooler, and then the rain and rumbles arrive. Heavy rains possible Wednesday and Thursday for a very unsettled first week of summer. And yes, it is summer. Today felt like it. By Tuesday, maybe not so much. Wednesday, I don't like it at all. But that's fine.
Yeah, a lot of different forecasts.
A lot in the 7-day forecast. Yeah, a good week and a good night to stay skyware.
All right, thanks, Ian. When it comes to the Minnesota Aurora and their brand, word travels fast, far, and wide.
Ahmad Hicks has the story of how one game sparked interest in the Hayes family, eventually leading to Camber Hayes making the journey to Minnesota.
When you first hear Camber Hayes' name over the speakers, one might say that last name sounds familiar here in the state of Minnesota on the pitch, and you'd be correct.
My older brother, Ja'Cory Hayes, he played for Minnesota United.
And that's where the Hayes family stumbled across the Aurora.
He said the atmosphere was electric, couldn't believe how many fans and how into the crowd was. And so I aspired to go pro, and he was like, this is a great atmosphere for you to grow up and be supported in.
Hayes is no stranger to USLW clubs, but she says the Aurora are the real deal, which is why she wanted in.
I've been at other USLW clubs that have been more of just like a hangout, kick around, but this is, everybody aspires to go pro. They bring in a lot of experienced players and a lot of resources, so this is an environment built to win.
But not only is Hayes focused on her dreams in between the white lines, she's also working towards her goals for life after ball.
I've always loved animals. I feel like that's what everybody says when they want to be a vet. And every little kid, when they're younger, they're like, oh, I want to be a vet. And then they grow out of it. Never happened for me.
In her free time this summer, Hayes is seeking learning opportunities from local vets, but one specifically.
I'm trying to see if I can shout out some of the vets at the Como Zoo. That's like #1.
Until then, she'll continue to hone in on her soccer skills with the Aurora, while also trying to make her big brother proud.
My brother's the whole reason I'm playing soccer. I didn't come from a soccer family. My father and mother didn't play. My brother started, and then that got my older sister to start, that got me start, and that got my little brother to start. So he was just the first one to do it, and we all followed suit, and we all fell in love with it.
Who's the best soccer player in the family?
I say me.
Oh, okay.
No, but my little brother is really good too. He's the truth. He's good.
So you think he'll be playing professional soccer one day?
Yeah, for sure.
Reporting for Fox 9, I'm Ahmad Hicks.
Oh, what a great family. Right now, Fox 9 is on Bloom Watch. This is a live look at a corpse flower at Como Zoo and Conservatory, expected to open any minute now. It's been named Frederick. Officials at Como initially expected it to bloom yesterday, but say they are on Frederick time. Corpse flowers have a putrid smell, historically drawing many spectators to experience this strange phenomenon. Not just the smell, but once it opens, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, the lines last year were so long to see this thing, well, and then it doesn't stay open very long.
No.
Too. So
Thankfully.
There's just a short window, but we're on Frederick time and we're watching as well.
When faced with grief, a local doctor has found a new way to give back.
Now, Dick King lost his wife and now sings and plays the piano for her every single night. Realizing how much music is helping in the grieving process, he started a scholarship through MacPhail Center for Music. The goal is to help other music students pursue forms of music therapy.
It feels me connected, and it allows me to go to bed and not ruminate over the fact that she's gone. Yeah, I mean, that's what I found. It just helps me with the grieving, amazingly.
And coming up at 9 tonight, meet the 17-year-old who is the new scholarship recipient and how his work at a crisis nursery is helping young listeners as well.
Great story. Yeah, let's stick around for that tonight, folks. It's a really good one. That'll do it for us here for the Aurora halftime cut-in.
So we will get you back to the action at TCO Stadium right after this.
A low-scoring, defensive-minded affair through 45 minutes in the Twin Cities. River Light up a goal on the road, 1-0 against division leaders Minnesota Aurora FC. Welcome back inside TCO Stadium alongside Mandy Pokabratsky. I'm Jake Griffith. Glad to have you alongside us. A big second 45 minutes coming up for this Aurora offense, who held without a goal at the halftime break for just the second time this season. And through large stretches of that first 45 minutes, very lethargic looking offense for Minnesota.
Really, I think this is a good position for Aurora to be in. They're hunting the postseason. They're down a goal. It's not in a situation they've been in frequently. So this is actually really good for them to experience this challenge and to come back, because you don't know if you make it into the postseason, do you find yourself in a similar situation? And you can lean into that experience then. So I'm excited to see how Aurora comes out and attacks this next 45 minutes and how River Light's going to respond.
The first 10 minutes for River Light of that first half invited some pressure for Aurora, but those final 25 to 30 minutes, they really took it to Minnesota, and River Light were able to expose some spaces out wide. That's traditionally an area we see Aurora utilize, but the visitors using it to perfection.
Yeah, Aurora's just been a little bit slower in getting pressure on the ball today, and then we saw in the last two games, if you're able to tune in against the Sioux Falls City games, that transition is where Aurora got caught out. And again, a lot of that time comes from being in possession of the ball. Your spacings are a lot larger that you have to try to reduce. But in this situation today, it's just been a little bit slower to get numbers around the ball, to get pressure and close that space.
The goal for River Light FC, although it won't go in the books as a true counter-attacking goal, it was set up initially by transitional play that forced an emergency clearance, which resulted in the corner. They scored on that ensuing corner. River Light have been able to get out on the transition countless times in that first half. We've talked a lot about rest defense this season for Aurora in these broadcasts. How important is rest defense in the second half for Minnesota?
It will continue to be. I know for this Aurora team, they're going to want to get on the ball a bit more than they did in the first half. So it's going to be really important. You're not just facing an environment that you haven't necessarily been in a lot, being down a goal. However, it's also the heat that plays into this. So it is the mental fatigue and the load that comes with that. So how do you continue to stay engaged? A lot of that's going to be on individual players. How do I impact the game? How do I make sure that I'm staying engaged? Part of that's going to be communicating with each other, but it's also going to be their accountability to themselves.
Aurora on their fourth game in the last 8 days. I'm not sure 8 games in 8 days would be allowed anywhere except in maybe a youth soccer tournament. I mean, we have those sort of jamboree styles. Everybody's playing on consecutive fields at the same time. Look, it's hot for everybody, right? The heat's got my brain fried, and we're sitting here in air conditioning. Aurora all set to go for half number 2, as is River Light, who will make one change at the halftime break. Anya Goldbranson will come on, the Wisconsin Badger, 5th appearance of the season. Aurora counters with a change of their own. Annie Williams will come on. Williams earning player of the match honors for the 2-1 win Aurora enters off of against Sioux Falls City. Williams, the former South Dakota State Jackrabbit.
And Jake, you talked about River Light having a little bit of success in the wide spaces. So you see Annie Williams is actually an outside back coming in. She's a natural outside back. So Hayes moves back into center back, a more natural home for her. So we'll see how they adjust and adapt, but it should be a little bit more of a natural position for both players.
TCO Stadium, Aurora's home field, has been a fortress for this club since the club's inception in 2022. 0 regular season losses.
One of the other interesting notes is it actually looks like Rami Rapp came off and Tavana moved inside, where Sage is now back out wide.
Stephanie McFarland sounds the whistle. We're back underway for the second half. Sage Wimes, the other change that you alluded to for Jen Larrick, head coach for Aurora FC. Wimes this season with 3 goals, coming off that year a season ago where she had 12 goal contributions. As this worked out wide for River Light and their captain, Emily Roberts. Taken away, though, by Mariah Wynn. And quickly in transition is Minnesota. Tavana works it over. It's Westland! What a save from Lipinski. Got a paw to it. It's a corner 1.
And what a positive start for Aurora. Again, the ball just moves quicker. Mariah does a great job, starts to take the player on, sees the supporting run coming. Ava picks her head up here. What a fantastic strike. What a great save, though, to get her fingertip there.
Aurora with their first corner of the night. Camber Hayes, the Memphis Tiger. She'll pull the strings on this near flag. Hayes does have an option into Annie Williams. Hayes lifts this back post, headed away. Falls back to Mariah Wynn. Well defended by Rogers and Riverlight as they try to work it back down.
Here's the difference already. Look at the pressure that Aurora's at least getting in around the ball to delay the attack.
Rolled up ahead. Numbers here for Riverlight, but Hayes first to it. And Cooper will clear that away from danger. Wimes with it near side. She'll give it back to Annie Williams. A bright start already to half number 2 for Aurora with fresh legs and Williams and Wimes on the pitch.
Just a bit more of an upbeat tempo, Aurora with the ball at their feet now.
Zbielich, that glanced along by Ava Westland. Lipinski rolls it out wide to Taylor Green, former Chicago Dutch Lion. In her second season now with Riverlight FC is Green. Now whipped ahead. That will roll out across that far channel. Aurora will have a throw in. In that first half, we did not see Aurora, while they had possession, didn't feel like it had much purpose behind it. Already in these first handful of minutes in this second half, there is a purpose, a real bite to this offense.
Everything's just a little bit quicker right now. The way in which players are taking a touch forward, it's a little bit more, you're getting quicker touches, so that's forcing defenders to have to adjust and shift. The movement off the ball is just a little bit quicker, but again, it's 1-2 touch passes, and they're continuing to find the next player that has the green space. Again, I called it the green highway. It's literally the player that has green space in front of them.
Headed along. Here's Ava Westland with it. She'll boot this out wide. It's Wimes.
The technical ability to play that pass that Ava just played is very, very hard. So very impressive little touch there.
Williams leading the charge for Minnesota. They're doubling up Annie Williams now. Wimes turns. Again, defensively, that adjustment for Riverlight and Jared Appel, their head coach, of hanging Rogers back and trying to cut off that back pass option. It has created some confusion for Aurora, who traditionally have been able to rely on, oh, we don't have an option going forward, cycle it along the back.
And that's part of what you have to understand. If it's not that option, where is the option? The option is always there. It's your ability to identify it for one, but also your ability to access it for two.
Riverlight in possession now, and that an errant pass looking for Bodensteiner.
And that's not good. When it's a non-contact injury and you see a player go down, that's usually not a good sign. So hopefully it's just a cramp, which would be very likely given the conditions today.
Green helped back to her feet by Bodensteiner, trying to walk off a little knock there. Green had given it up, to your point, and immediately went down. Long throw from Williams finds Tavana. Cleared away by Riverlight. Aurora Aurora will have a throw-in. Training House, the flagship location in Eagan on the Minnesota Vikings campus, is an elite athletic performance and recovery philosophy that is unparalleled in the Twin Cities. Utilizing innovative, science-based methods, our industry-leading team of experts work together to form a personalized approach for the athlete. Collectively, we establish a foundation for athletic performance that promises to challenge, inspire, and produce real results. To learn more and find locations, visit traininghouse.com. Out across the touchline, Aurora will have a throw-in. In that first half, Riverlight, as that glanced along by Mariah Wynn, as Aurora tried to get expansive with their offense and utilize those wide spaces, Riverlight were able to pin Aurora up against those touch lines and use it defensively. But now here's Mariah Wynn running ahead. Wynn is in. She'll cut this back. Still Wynn. Turning. Gives it up. Here's Diamond. Williams now. Looking back ahead, Wynn tries to lay it off. Nodded away, it falls back to Williams. Plenty of space down this right-hand side. Diamond, cross, blocked. Falls back to Diamond now. Here's Diamond. Carries it inside. Diamond, shot, deflected. Rolls out. It's a corner for Aurora. Their second of the second half already.
That's better composure from Summer Diamond. She tries to take the defender on. You can tell she wants to probably get that off on her towards her right foot, but she takes what the defender gives her, attacks the inside there, and tries to get, she got something out of it, which is a corner.
4 set-piece goals this season for Aurora, 2 of which have come off corners. Jelena Zbilic will pull the strings from this far flag. Zbilic drives this in, promptly headed away. Bit too heavy of a touch there from Boone. She keeps the pressure on. Worked ahead, but out of the reach of Westland. That's been the story this evening for Aurora's offense. Even when they are keeping that cycle going, the passing just hasn't been as crisp as Jen Larrick would like.
Well, and part of it is if you're looking at the spacing from the Aurora front line specifically, the space is actually getting very narrow, which is making the requirement to be an extra crisp pass, and it has to be pinpoint accuracy. As you start to stretch a back line out a little bit more, you still want the accuracy of the pass, but the lanes become a little bit bigger that you can find that ball into.
Hayes tries to corral that ball in, cannot. Riverlight progressing down the pitch with the throw in. As Bodensteiner backed up a bit by Stephanie McFarland. Rogers couldn't hang on to it. Neither can Aurora, though, and Riverlight will reset their offense. They have tried to get the long game going as well this evening, and they have struggled in their own right in utilizing those long passes. This evening for Riverlight, it's been all about the short combination plays, those 1-2 quick passes that have been so successful.
Yeah, they've been very successful, more so finding feet. They have had a couple moments that made Aurora defenders uncomfortable with pressure on their back, and I think that's where Riverlight's really excelled, even if they're not getting necessarily on the end of a longer pass. They've done a great job closing the space as the ball's traveling and making Aurora defenders uncomfortable, forcing mistakes. So they are still winning the ball higher up the field. Maybe it's via a throw, maybe it's via a bad pass, but they are getting something in return from it.
Bodensteiner able to recover. Rapp with the interception.
Really positive touch there from Summer.
Diamond tries to get it back via Westland, cannot. And now Berkeley Mensick will turn this upfield, but turning it a little too high upfield, and change of possession will occur via the throw in. One area that Aurora's defense has excelled in, Berkeley Mensick so good at generating touches, creating offense, has 4 goals of her own right. They have, in essence, neutralized her racing through those middle portions of the pitch.
And part of it just, it's how the game, the flow of the game has been. There's been moments of, yes, some touches in the middle, but with so many bodies in the interior space, it's really hard to continue to find combinations. So although, yes, they're getting some passes to enable, in order to progress, they're having to utilize a little bit of the wide space as well.
Errant distribution out. Vapinski was under pressure, and that concedes a throw into Aurora, and Annie Williams, the former Parma Calcio defender, In toward Westland. Pinballing around, hacked away by Green. It falls back to Diamond, however. Turning on it. Here's Williams. Diamond again. Now Williams funnels it back forward, looking for Westland. Westland, cross, in front, deflected. Riverlight desperately seeking a clearance option here, and Rogers will take it on herself.
It's a really good back tackle. Very clean.
Up ahead, it's Summer Diamond. 2 goals this season for Diamond. Gives it up. Westland. Westland turning. Headed along. Tavana in front. Falling on it is Vapinski. And there's a whistle against Aurora.
Last 2-3 minutes, one of the changes that you can start to see from the Aurora group here, and they started the very first few minutes of the half this way as well, more so attacking the ball. It's not so much being reactive as much as it is anticipating, going forward, making sure you're taking a step, going at the ball, and that's something we've seen a lot from Riverlight this game. So it'll be interesting to see if Aurora can continue to do so, or if they kind of drop back more into that reactive on your heels stance, in which case they're going to be in some trouble if that's the case.
Nadia Cooper has it now. Boone looking ahead. Westland can't help that one along, and Riverlight will take over possession.
And as you're watching at home, you can kind of see Charlie Boone was looking to play that long ball. Riverlight read that. The back line of Riverlight continued to drop off. So what I'd like to see from Charlie there is to see that back line dropping off and actually pick out a pass that's in front of the back line. So between their midfield line and back line, because that's where the space is. So it's just about a matter of reading what's happening and picking the right pass.
Wimes racing laterally with it. She'll give it up to Boone. Telegraph pass from Zbilic. Intercepted again.
I love what I'm seeing from Kat, just coming back, winning the ball, doing the dirty work.
Glancing header from Mariah Wynn, but no one there for Aurora to pick it up. And it's cleared out of play for a throw-in. Since the half turned over to the second 45 minutes, Aurora, to your point earlier, they have been a step quicker, being a bit more proactive, and we're seeing more of this traditional Aurora offense attacking in waves.
And it's just anticipation, right? You expect the ball to come to you. You expect a mistake. It's just making sure that you're prepared for the next moment. You should never not expect the ball to come to you. So if you can go in with that mindset and mentality, you're going to be quicker to everything that's going on around you.
Thumped clear by Riverlight. A short clearance, though. Not Savannah with it. Look at the numbers thrown back by Riverlight right now. Real congestion in the defensive end by the visitors from Illinois. Here's Diamond, though. Diamond! Pushed toward the bar, but kept out by Vapinski.
What another fantastic strike. So Aurora's had 2 really good opportunities from just outside the 18. And you can see Coach Larrick is wanting that energy from her team to get up, get forward, press the ball.
Riverlight with a free kick as Taylor Green will take it to get play back going. There has been a feeling of real desperation behind the way Aurora has played in this second half. That feeling was lacking in the first 45 minutes.
And sometimes all it takes is regrouping together as a team, having a little bit of a moment, not in the flow of the game, not with all the crowd around you, but just being as a group together.
Aurora will make another change. Eli Rapp will come on for her first appearance of the night. Jelena Zbilic off. And will hand the captain's armband to Annie Williams. Rapp coming off a match in which she netted her first career goal for Aurora against Sioux Falls City in that 2-1 win. Long throw in. Westland waiting for it, and we'll catch up to it. Westland forces her way inside.
Really like that Ava ran along with the ball there, using her body to shield it, and then just using the weight of the defender against her.
Wimes cross, claimed by Vipinski. Molly Vipinski has really turned in a complete performance in net. We've seen some impressive saves for her, whether it's palming it over the bar, the push toward the bar, the catch minutes ago, claiming crosses.
Definitely leaves you feeling more confident as a team when you know you have your goalkeeper in net who's having a great game. Makes you feel like you can be a little bit more aggressive.
Wimes, there's a whistle, and Wimes will draw a free kick. Sage Wimes this season, just the 3 goals, and you say just the 3. She's coming off that inaugural year last season with the 7 goals. As this worked ahead to win, lays it off inside! Back on level footing, thanks to Ava Westland's 3rd of the season. 1-1.
And Jake, this is why you always finish your runs and continue to work off the ball. As a striker, it is so important because you don't know how everything's going to fall. What a great ball from Mariah, but Ava just gets across, picks her head up, finds the far post. Fantastic ball in, fantastic finish.
A 3rd assist of the year for Mariah Wynn. And for Ava Westland, now 4 goal contributions on the campaign. None bigger than that right now at this juncture of the season. Something Aurora needed desperately. Here's Riverlight with a response of energy coming out after conceding the goal, but Aurora will have the throw.
And watching that replay, it can't be overstated enough how challenging of an angle that is. Ava's running across away from goal to be able to get her left foot around it to find the far post. Defies physics a little bit, but no, she does a great job just continuing the run. And again, it's the awareness to have her head up prior to the ball hitting her feet, so she knows where she's going to place that one touch.
Westland, a UPSLW League first team selection a season ago with 13 goals in 12 appearances for Minnesota Aurora 2.
And this is something you're starting to see from this Aurora group, is they can finish in a variety of ways. We've seen a couple chances from outside the 18. We've seen games where they've scored from outside the 18. We've seen games where they've driven at the end line and a ball cut back across the face of the goal. This is really kind of one of the first moments that I've seen where it's an interior pass coming to a player running into a wider space and then cutting it back.
Those cutback passes, what makes those so difficult as a defender to deal with?
Because it's attacking your backside. So it's using your momentum against you. So you're trying to take away one space and the ball's coming back across you. So it's really hard to adjust, but it's also really hard to track.
Eli Rapp gives it up. Here's Summer Diamond. The second half has been a flying and bright second half for Aurora, pulling a goal back and now seeking more. Williams has to chug all the way back to corral that ball in. Played into an empty space. Taylor Green will pick it up for Riverlight. Bodensteiner racing ahead. Cat Rapp coming in from behind and tripping Bodensteiner up, and for that foul, Cat Rapp shown yellow. The first booking of the evening as a card comes out of the pocket of Stephanie McFarland.
It's really the first foul for Cat. Not necessarily surprised that that's a yellow based off the angle and how she came into that tackle. But again, with what Riverlight has done in transition and being able to move quickly up the pitch, it's not a bad foul to give away. It allows your team the opportunity to recover. So yeah, Cat just gets her leg, trips her up there. In my opinion, it's intentional. I like it because, again, it delays the Riverlight attack and allows your group to get reorganized.
Play back underway as this worked up ahead to Rogers. Now Green. Green making her 4th appearance, 4th start. Slipped ahead, Bodensteiner now. Bodensteiner in front. Cooper will scoop that up. Sydney Fink again able to get a touch on that, and Fink has been so good at probing, getting into good spaces and creating offense for River Light.
And it's really important that Aurora gets tight. There's a little bit too much space in the 18. Players just having the ability to get a touch here and there, that can make all the difference. So you really want players to get a lot tighter and make it hard for the River Light attacking players to get anything off.
Branson heads that back down. Too short of a distribution from Cooper. And now pressure here on Camber Hayes. It's a throw in for River Light. Now here's Mensick, moving laterally with it. Taken away by Tavana. What a find up ahead for Westland. Turning, finding Mariah Wynn. Now played in behind, cleared away from Westland. Wynn goes down off a foul from Sydney Fink.
And I know the fans are going to want to see a yellow on that one.
They will get their wish. A card comes out of the pocket of McFarland again. 2nd card in the last 4 minutes. Now Sydney Fink goes into the book. As things start to tighten up in this second half with this even scoreline, River Light knowing they need a win. Physicality is picking up a bit. Heat also helping that along. Yeah, as anybody knows, when it gets hot, people tend to get a bit more frustrated than typical.
It does make it easier, that's for sure. But no, again, River Light is playing for their season right now. So they're going to bring on another sub. They really have to push for a goal. That is their only choice. A draw does not do them any good. In fact, a draw does nothing for them. That's the end of their playoff hopes.
Aurora can settle for a draw and still get into the postseason as Kat Rapp will trigger this. Rapp works it up ahead right at Vapinski. An easy catch for River Light's netminder. The change made by Jared Appel for River Light FC. Maya Nugent, the young 18-year-old. That's a name that local soccer fans should get used to hearing. Nugent set to embark on her first collegiate season with University of Minnesota Golden Gophers and head coach Aaron Chastain. A handful of Gophers on this Aurora side, 3 to be exact. Intercepted by Wimes. Given right back up, though, it's River Light.
It's just going to take a little bit of time to get built into the game there. So just be patient. Needs to pick her head up.
Williams, another long throw. Was looking for Westland. Now pressing is Westland. Steered back. It's Vapinski. Nugent tries to fling it ahead. That goes out. Another throw in given to Aurora. That has been an issue that River Light has started to struggle with as this second half has dragged on. Large stretches for about a half hour of that first half. They were very exceptionally crisp with their passing, and it helped set up good offensive opportunities. In this second half, it's been less crisp.
And part of it's just been Aurora's been better on the ball. So it's not so much as of what they have or haven't done, as much as Aurora's just been more proactive. They're a little bit more energized coming in, so they're doing a better job occupying space, closing it quicker defensively, making that harder for River Light. I actually thought River Light actually just dealt with the press really well. They almost had the solution. They had a 2v1. Unfortunately, the pass gets played out of bounds before the defender's really forced to make a decision. So they had the option there. It's just a matter of executing that final moment.
Pass back to Diamond, taken away by Nugent. Maya Nugent up ahead. Maya Nugent! What a save by Cooper. Able to push it wide. It's a corner won by River Light.
That's really well done from Nadia, just to stay in front of it, get a deflection. And this is why it's so important as a midfielder to understand when you can open up and turn and when you just need to play what you see. So in that situation, Summer unfortunately thinks she has time and space to open up, even though she's facing backwards. That's just a moment where you want to bounce the ball, find a player facing forward, not turning into pressure there.
Berkeley Minsick will take this corner. Minsick whips it. Headed away by Westland. Bodensteiner. Bodensteiner went down. No foul given as Nugent will give it back up. Minsick pinned on that touchline. Out for a Riverlight throw in. Defensively and offensively this evening, Riverlight have been able to use these touchlines advantageously. As that throw taken in, finding Fink. Williams tries to whip that away for a clearance, and Berkeley Minsick taking the brunt of that.
Yeah, that one never feels good. Looks like she's actually didn't even get the wind knocked out of her quite. Just doesn't feel good, but at least able to escape without that feeling of having the wind knocked out of you.
That's a real gamer right there. As soon as Stephanie McFarland ran right over to check on her, you could see her mouth move. I'm good. Didn't even want the stoppage. As Aurora will have a throw in. Going back to it, though, Riverlight have been able to use these touchlines advantageously, especially defensively when Aurora gets expansive, pinning them along those touchlines. And now here they are trying to play the wide space, as that will roll across the end line. When you're able to pin a team up against those touchlines like that, what does that do for a defense?
Well, it makes it easier. It makes it more predictable for one. So that's where you've seen in the first half specifically. Second half has been a little bit more of a challenge for Riverlight, but it's because Aurora's doing a better job moving the ball. It's quicker, it's at speed. You have players occasionally engaging a defender and then finding the next pass. But when you're able to get them to the sideline, that's a great pressing trap for many teams. That's where teams want to force the ball, is to that sideline, because it's a natural defender and it forces you to play in a really small, tight space.
Here's Cat Rapp now. Rapp trying to play Wynn through. Wynn can't get to it, and it's out for a goal kick.
And the ball is always just going to keep rolling towards that corner with the wind still coming across.
You mentioned those pressing traps, though. If you have a team that defensively is pinning you up against the touchlines, naturally that means there's going to be space in the middle. We have seen space in these middle thirds this evening. How can Aurora take better advantage of the space they're being given?
So Riverlight's actually really committed to the near side that the ball's on, as well as occupying that central channel. So the space that's really open is the far sideline. And so really it is going to be able to, it's going to be the bounce pass for me. And that's how you kind of just find that entry pass, find the next player that can face forward, and it's sometimes going to be a longer ball that's driven out. But it's got to happen quick. And that's what we've started to see a little bit more from this Aurora group, is the passes are just a bit sharper, a bit quicker coming off their feet.
Hydration break issued by Stephanie McFarland, our center referee this evening. These players are turning in hard shifts all across the board.
Yeah, surprisingly, Jake, even at 9:15 p.m., we're still sitting at about 90 degrees. So you're still probably close to 95 on the turf at least, just because that artificial turf holds heat and produces it so much quicker than natural grass.
I am not a hot weather guy, so as you say that, for those that obviously can't see us here in the booth, the cringe reaction that I'm giving, not for me. I prefer cold weather. Of course, I'm sure Minnesotans listening to this say, yeah, you say that until it's minus 20 is the high in, the month of January, for example. I think I'd probably take minus 20 over 90 degrees.
No. I describe myself as a sad houseplant in the wintertime. That is my time to kind of wilt, and then sun comes around again and we're all good. I'm a happy houseplant in the summertime.
My school of thought is always you can put more layers on and stay warm, but there comes a point where you just can't take enough layers off in order to cool down.
When you get hit with the ball and it is cold out, it does not feel good. I would much rather play in the heat. Everything just, yes, it can feel sluggish at times with the heat, but for the most part, there's still something more fluid about it than it is for the cold for me. But again, every player has their preference.
Play back underway off the goal kick away from Vipinski. See, that's why I played hockey, because sure, there's a lot of hitting in hockey, but you got all those pads on, right? It doesn't feel the same as being hit with a ball, for example, in the dead of winter.
It's a really good entry pass from Charlie, but as you saw there, Ava received the ball without having an option underneath. So her only option is to hold the ball up and either hope for an option to arrive or to draw that foul and not give the ball up.
Williams will step to the inside. Now Williams up ahead. An initial touch by Rapp, just couldn't hang on to it. And Bodensteiner will give it up. Intercepted by Williams. Here is Aurora on the move once more.
See how narrow the Aurora shape is. Again, that makes it really easy for the Riverlight defenders to occupy the passing lanes.
Minsick will settle this to Maya Nugent. Flings it ahead. Intercepted by Rapp. Muscles Minsick off the ball, who's looking for a whistle. That underscores the second half physicality that we've seen from these two bitter rivals. On the move, rolled in behind, but the flag is up for offside.
Flag might have been up. I love the fact that Nadia continues to come out, and she makes a fantastic save there. So even if that flag had not come up, what a phenomenal way to get down and be brave.
You mentioned the narrowness a minute ago, and you mentioned the spacing out wide. Utilizing those switching balls, something that Aurora has not been able to capitalize on consistently enough to generate offense. That has been a theme this year, that in matches like against a Rochester, like against Sioux Falls City at home earlier this month, unable to utilize those switching passes. But now here they are, up ahead. Tavana squares, kicked out of play by Vipinski. It's a corner one.
Oh, and it was the right idea. Unfortunate not to be able to pull that one back just a little bit further here. She deals with it really well. Positive touch, tries to do the right thing and get the ball back across. Just couldn't get her hips around it enough.
That's sound goalkeeping to hug that far post as well, allowing Vipinski to get a foot to it. Aurora and Summer Diamond play the short option. It's into Rapp. Rapp centers, again cleared away.
You know, and I know I mentioned in that one moment the shape got a bit narrow, and overall Aurora's done better today as far as, especially in the second half, of keeping some wider options. It's just more so as you get anxious in front of goal. It's natural, right? You want to have the ball in front of goal so you can have a look at it. So it's just being disciplined a little bit and giving that space for either a player to attack on the dribble or to attract the defender and then release your teammate into that wide space.
Maya Nugent shown yellow for that tackle on Eli Rapp. A free kick given to Aurora FC. Stephanie McFarland has started to turn into a busy woman herself this evening. North of 20 combined fouls, now 3 cards, all 3 of which coming in this second half. Boone gets play back going.
So you can see Sage Wimes is already on the sideline here, doing a much better job keeping some width, occupying their outside back, which has created space for Summer Diamond. So if you're able to see on your screen there, it's a 2v2, 2v1, depending on the situation. And again, Tavana is now going to stay higher on the backside. That impacts how defenders want to play.
Diamond couldn't get to it. Now rolling into that end line. And backing her down was Minsick. It's out for Amali Vipinski, goal clearance. Counting this season, Aurora all-time have played to 4 draws. Once in their inaugural match back in 2022, twice a season ago, and then the 1-1 draw now 3 matches ago at Sioux Falls City earlier this week on Tuesday. We come close to the 80th minute. Still deadlocked, 1 apiece. Riverlight pushing for the lead again. It's Minsick. Minsick squares. Fink. Her shot is blocked.
Eli Rapp does phenomenally there. She comes inside. She sees that Charlie has to shift over because Camber's caught out a little bit, so everybody shifts over a little bit. She stays square in front of the ball. Doesn't try to win it there, just stays in front.
Falling in front, fired over the bar. Gold Branson had a great look at it and couldn't put it on target.
And it's been the speed and the pace of the River Light front players have put a little bit of pressure on Hayes and Boone as this Aurora center backs.
It hasn't happened as consistently in this second half as we saw in half number 1. But in flashes, they can get forward very quickly. Minsick goes down, as does Williams. It's devolving into chaos at the moment. Players all over the place. Nine minutes plus stoppage time remain. One team looking for a winner.
This is a really important 9-10 minutes for Aurora. So for anybody that was able to watch the Sioux Falls City, the first game in Sioux Falls, you'll know Sioux Falls scored in stoppage time against Aurora. So it's going to be really important that Aurora is able to close this game out.
Here's Wimes. Options outside. Tavana cutting around. Tavana muscled down, and it's a foul against Minnesota. Minsick will knock that ball down, now whipped forward by Calhoun. Green hammers this ahead. Calhoun with it for Aurora.
It's better from Nadia. Just every time the ball's gone back to Nadia, attacking player has run at speed. So she does a really good job, keeps her composure, picks her head up, finds a quick pass.
Rapp gives it up. Westland on her left. Laid off. Boone. Tavana trying to knife inside. Cannot. Locked down again on that outside by Catella. She has defended so well at that right back spot this evening. Now Hayes commits the foul, and that's another whistle.
This is going to be a moment Aurora needs to get in front of the ball, just slow the game down. It's really, really smart from Cat Rapp there just to step in front of the ball. River Light had numbers going forward and was looking to play quickly.
The latest goal Aurora have scored this season came in the 90th minute in that neutral site fixture in Madison, Wisconsin against Chicago Dutch Lion. We have another whistle, this time a foul against River Light. Conversely, River Light in their most recent matchup coming into today scored in the 89th minute against RKC Third Coast. That ultimately sealed that contest, a 3-1 victory for River Light, who will make changes now late in this second half. Keegan Schmeiser will trot on for the first time, as will Jimmy Gillespie, the Butler Bulldog. Rapp gets play going again off the free kick.
And it looks like we're seeing River Light shift into a 4-3-3.
Williams ahead. Short clearance away. Now Schmeiser. Her pass intercepted. Hayes taken down.
That's what we talk about, right? Hayes is prepared and stepping forward, being more aggressive. So her ability to come through forces River Light to be a little bit more reactionary there.
That's a foul committed by Maya Nugent. Has to be careful. Nugent already carrying 1 yellow. Well, Stephanie McFarland continuing her conversations with River Light players.
She's definitely staying busy.
22 combined fouls between these teams this evening. No love lost between River Light and Aurora. Hayes drops this ahead to Westland. Rapp.
And again, Hayes just reading that so well, stepping forward there.
Out wide, it's Diamond. Diamond stands across up, headed wide, and out.
It's not a bad idea. You have numbers on the backside there. I don't mind picking out a target to try to just get a flick on towards goal.
Lime stepping up, trying to put pressure on River Light. Instead, it's a throw in for Gillespie. Lifted away from danger by DeRay. Minsick locked in a battle with Camber Hayes. She wins that, and Minsick commits the foul, and this will be an easy yellow out of the pocket of Stephanie McFarland.
Yeah, that one is a little much there at the end. As much as I love the fact that Sage handed the ball for the throw-in, what that does is it still allows a team who's transitioning quickly to have an extra player defensively out of their way. So, yeah, Sage is near the ball, but realistically for, again, the team that's transitioning quickly, let them get the ball, you get set, get your shape. And that's something that's important for young players to know because, yes, we want to teach good sportsmanship, and it's not that it's bad sportsmanship. It's just game understanding and awareness.
Here's Diamond. Diamond struggled with the control. River Light again win it back in the midfield. Bodensteiner on to Nugent, who lifts it ahead. Cooper will come up and scoop that. That ball goes out. Eli Rapp will have a throw in for Aurora here in this 88th minute. Looking for Westland on that throw down the far touchline. One back again. Cleared out of play. Roberts heads it away from pressure. It's on to Nugent. Nugent gives it up as it falls to Tavana. Fink will scoop that loose ball up. Now here's Sydney Fink. Up ahead, a foot race out wide. River Light first to it. Smart hold-up play from Berkeley Minsk. This cross whipped in. Attacking the header is Williams.
Now it's really important that Aurora gets reorganized. So they're having players come out and attack the ball, as you just saw from Annie Williams. But it's really important to get your back line in shape again.
Gillespie, no options ahead. Here's Schmeiser. Schmeiser's cross in toward Fink and over her head as Cooper will scoop that up. There is some action down in the River Light technical area as the fourth official, Jay Maloney, having a spirited conversation, was for a moment with the River Light coaching staff, at one point holding his hand up to all three coaches saying enough. Officially 4 minutes of stoppage time given by the fourth official.
I think Annie Williams coming on has been a really bright spot. She's just had a lot of composure, but it's been her aggressiveness defensively as well. Just how she attacks interior spaces on the ball, but again, pushing higher to force River Light to have to make decisions.
Wimes will have a throw in for Aurora, and instead we'll give it up to Annie Williams. Deep in toward this final third for Minnesota late. Williams looking for Rapp. She'll fire that out of play. And it's a goal kick awarded, not before changes made by both sides.
And that's a really hard ball to do anything with. When you throw it into the pelvis area of any player, it's a challenge to deal with that.
Helen Schaefer on for Aurora. On comes Riley Gum and Julia Caro for River Light. One area that's been in the news around college soccer, and this being a college soccer themed summer league, is the U.S. Soccer Federation announcing that they are forming that committee to look at how to modernize the men's and women's college game. On the men's side, there's been so much talk for years about how men's college soccer can be a better accompaniment to the professional game. But on the women's side, they have not had that case for so long. The United States women's national team system has relied on college players. As this worked ahead, Cooper will scoop that up. Players like Amali Vapinski, who has international caps under her belt for the U.S. U15, U17 national teams. J.T. Batson, executive for U.S. Soccer Federation, did say earlier in the month that he feels like college soccer can be the premier U23 portion of the pyramid, so to speak, in an effort to beef up America's domestic talent.
Well, a lot changes when NIL became a thing as well, because understandably not necessarily happy with no call there, but you know, NIL changed a lot because without players having the ability to get some form of payment, you've seen the growth of the game overseas, in which case there are no regulations as far as age of players who are able to go and sign contracts. So as far as player development goes, the NCAA has to evaluate those situations with the growth of pre-professional soccer and some of the opportunities that these players can get overseas.
Helen Schaefer will come on for Aurora. 3 minutes of the 4 allotted for stoppage time deep now. That hacked out of play. There is a whistle for a foul, and River Light will have a late free kick here. Calhoun intercepts.
The pressure from Aurora has been so important in this second half because it's forced River Light to give balls up that they weren't giving up in the first half. So that change defensively has made Aurora much more dangerous, not just defensively, but as they transition into the attack because they have momentum going forward now.
Williams throw. It finds Westland. Ava Westland's goal, the equalizer in this second half. She wins another throw in. This time pinned right up against this near corner flag is Annie Williams. Wimes battling. Consecutive throws now for Aurora.
This is just how you kill a game off. Aurora doesn't need the goal. They progress into the postseason with a draw, so they're content to just end this game 1-1.
River Light will have a throw in. No whistle yet from Stephanie McFarland as we have crossed over the 4 minutes of stoppage time. Still one last push here for River Light. Schmeiser headed back down by Diamond.
Jake, we're almost a full minute beyond the 4, so we should hear a whistle any moment now.
McFarland checks her watch. Meanwhile, Aurora rolls it ahead. Here is Ava Westland heading for that corner flag. They're bunching up on Westland. Riverlight comes out with it. Whipped back down. There is the whistle from Stephanie McFarland. Full time in Eagan, Minnesota, and the points are shared on this Sunday night. Our final in Eagan, Minnesota. Aurora improves to 9-0-2 on the season, and they inch closer in toward that playoff push. Tonight's star of the game, presented by the Minnesota Star Tribune, is Nadia Cooper, who picks up another clean sheet, her 4th of the season for Aurora FC. We'll head to break and return to TCO to break it all down. 1-1 the final between Riverlight and Aurora.
Okay, thank you.
Well, while we see extreme heat, California seeing some snow. Check this out. It fell in the state's Sierra Nevada region this weekend, creating a scene that looked more like a winter scene than a summer scene. There it is. National Weather Service is warning those in the region to expect cool temperatures well below seasonal norms. As a result, you get some of the white stuff.
9 months after Hurricane Helene slammed into western North Carolina, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers continues to clean up debris from the iconic Lake Lure. And their efforts have led to the discovery of things that people haven't seen in generations, including a boat with the name Pooh Bear written on the side. It belonged to a local family. And there's part of the boat, but then there's also a shot that shows the side. And there was a Model T truck found as well.
The recovery is amazing. I mean, what the Army Corps and the town and all the contractors are doing here is, it's incredible. You know, the scale of this project is immense, and the progress they're making is really impressive.
Lake Lure still remains closed for the time being. They hope to have it back open next summer.
Police in Michigan say a gunman was fatally shot after opening fire at a church this morning outside Detroit. Authorities say that man trying to enter the church was blocked at the door by a truck. That's when the suspect opened fire. 2 security guards returned fire, killing the shooter, but not before that suspect shot one of the guards in the leg. Police say it appears the suspect was going through a mental health crisis. The FBI is helping with this investigation.
At least 22 people are dead after a suicide bomber attacked a church filled with people in Syria. At least 63 others were hurt. The attack happened in Damascus as people were gathered to pray inside the church. The attack on the church was the first of its kind in Syria in years, and no group immediately claimed responsibility. But a Syrian Interior Ministry spokesman says their preliminary investigation points to an extremist Islamic State group.
Across the country, anti-war protests are popping up in the major cities following a U.S. attack on Iranian nuclear sites. Demonstrations were held in New York, in Boston, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, and in Minneapolis tonight. Protesters are demanding Congress reject U.S. entry to the Israel-Iran war and investigate the president's military strike power.
This attack, Donald Trump's attack on Iran, is unnecessary. It was unprovoked.
We have majorities on our side that are opposed to this war, that are opposed to military aid to Israel.
The protesters also advocated for a negotiated nuclear deal. Now, right now, Congress is divided on whether it needed to weigh in on those airstrikes against Iran.
Some say the president can and should do what is best for the nation, while others say by law Congress should have had a role in the process. Fox News senior congressional correspondent Chad Pergram explains.
Debate is if Congress should even have a role. The president is commander-in-chief, but the Constitution gives Congress the power to declare war. It's a political kaleidoscope. Democrats who usually oppose President Trump endorse bombing Iran.
I've been saying, oh, hell yes, for I think it's almost 6 weeks.
This window is open now. We can't take our boot off their neck.
But preemptive strikes could devolve into a broader conflict.
The idea that one strike is going to be adequate, that it's going to be one and done, I think is a misconception.
Bipartisan House members just returned from Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain.
They are worried that this will escalate, and it wouldn't take a whole lot for it to spiral out of control.
Those nations don't want Iran to go nuclear, but also hope for diplomacy.
The ask was for de-escalation, to be able to see Iran come back to the table.
The Reagan Institute summer survey found that 84% of those polled don't want Iran to get nuclear weapons. 66% root for a negotiated truce. A Fox poll found that 73% of people see Iran as a threat. Kentucky Republican Thomas Massie and California Democrat Ro Khanna wanted Congress to bar the U.S. from attacking Iran.
If the Democratic Party is not a party opposing the war in Iran, then I don't know what we stand for. This party needs to be clearly against another war in the Middle East.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says, quote, President Trump can only fire on Iran if Congress gives him, quote, explicit approval. But not all Democrats agree.
The president does what the president wants to do. That's what's always happened with military interventions.
Virginia Democrat Tim Kaine will compel a Senate vote this week on if the U.S. should have intervened. In Washington, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
And new satellite images show one of the Iranian nuclear plants before and after that U.S. strike. You can see several large holes and craters, as well as a gray-blue ash lingering in the air there. The images were released by Maxar Technologies post-bombing.
And in response to the U.S. attack on Iran, Pope Leo XIV used his Sunday message in St. Peter's Square to call for diplomacy over the violence. The Vatican has not yet announced any formal mediation efforts, but has confirmed it remains in contact with several international and humanitarian bodies to monitor the situation closely. Students looking to pursue music therapy can now apply for a new scholarship.
Coming up, we speak to the man who started it after music helped him rise from a rock bottom.
Also, a potential Timberwolves trade target no longer available. Which team Kevin Durant is headed to and for how much?
A local retired doctor grieving the loss of his wife is keeping her memory alive through multiple scholarships.
And Fox 9's Leah Bino shows us how a nightly routine turned into a calling to give back.
If a nay-nay here and a nay-nay there.
Volunteering his time and playing familiar songs for toddlers at a crisis nursery in Minneapolis.
E-I-E-I-O.
17-year-old James Pumphrey proves he has patience.
Do you want to play some instruments?
And a true love for sharing music.
What song do you want to sing? Do you know your ABCs? Yeah. We can try to play it all together. Singing is such a vulnerable thing, and to see that they can be comfortable enough, even in a situation that might be, pretty scary, to be away from their families, but be comfortable enough to sing and do kind of uncomfortable things that might end up opening new horizons for them. It's really cool to see.
When he's not singing lullabies, he's playing a variety of music and instruments ranging from jazz to singing opera. All of this contributing to James becoming the first recipient of a new scholarship offered by retired doctor Dick King. Grieving for the loss of his wife, music has suddenly become a large part of his life as well.
I stand right there and I sing to her, and then I sit down and play the piano.
And does it help you feel more connected to her?
It feels me connected, and it allows me to go to bed and not ruminate over the fact that she's gone. Yeah, I mean, that's what I found. It just helps me with the grieving, amazingly.
Dick and his late wife Lois created a binder full of scholarships over the years, giving to organizations including the Schubers Club, the Raptor Center, and the University of Minnesota College of Veterinary Medicine.
The grip of the right hand will be up the octave.
Most recently, Dick turned to his piano teacher at McPhail Center for Music, and the two created a scholarship focused on the power of healing music can provide.
I said, let's do something a little bit different than we normally do, and let's specifically set up a scholarship to inspire somebody to go use music as a tool to heal others, to proactively go do good in the world.
I was just super excited because, getting a scholarship at McPhail really opens up a lot of opportunities.
And for that, Dick knows his beloved Lois would be singing his praises.
She was spectacular, and I could do it, so why not? I think not everybody has that opportunity, but I have had the opportunity to not only honor her after she dies, but to live with her for 58 years, so spectacular.
Leah Bino, Fox 9.
That is a beautiful way to give back, and seeing the recipient and how he's carrying this forward is such an incredible story.
Sounds like it was a beautiful relationship, right?
And yeah, through the course of putting this story together, Dick humbly asked Leah not to dwell on the dollar figures of the scholarships.
Only noting they're set up in a way that when he passes, his generosity will double and help more young musicians in the community. So good for him.
Music is so powerful. All right, we want to talk about some college baseball wrapping up the championship series today. LSU taking the title, but a dramatic moment, bringing some comedic relief. As Coastal Carolina's manager argues a call, one of the umps takes a tumble and fell over, getting between the coach and the umpire there. Got a little tense. Let's see it there again. And he quickly gets up. Everybody seems to be okay. In the end, LSU swept Coastal Carolina, winning the 8th championship for the school and 2nd title in 3 years. LSU is tough.
Some dramatics there, maybe. A little bit of dramatic.
I don't know. I mean, maybe your center of gravity because you have to wear the pad. Maybe you just get a little bit off sometimes, too, with all the equipment.
For a moment, he looked like a turtle that couldn't rock his ship, right?
Darn it.
All right, well, your Minnesota Twins had the Brewers for the last 3 days.
Yeah.
Border battle of sorts. And
the heat may be getting to them a little bit.
I don't know. More like the Brewers had the Twins the last 3 days.
Yeah.
This is the first time since 1988 that the Brewers have come to Minnesota and swept the Twins. Well, that's how even this rivalry usually is, but not so much in this 3-game set. The Twins, they gave up 35 runs in this 3-game set to the Brewers. They gave up 34 in the previous 3-game series. That's a lot of runs to try and overcome, and the Twins haven't done a good job of doing that. But they nearly did that today in the finale with Milwaukee. It was a bullpen game for the Twins, and they would use a lot of guys from that bullpen in this one. But Byron Buxton continues in toward tear, leading off games. He does it again today. His 3rd leadoff homer in the last week. David Festa was the featured pitcher. Came in out of the pen, didn't fare well, uncorks a wild pitch here, allowing a run to score. It was 5-2 Milwaukee. Festa was tagged for 8 runs, including this 3-run blast by Bryce Teran, and the Twins looked to be done. But Buxton said, no, we can get back in this. And he launches his second home run of the day, his 17th of the season. Marvelous what Byron Buxton is doing. Twins crawl all the way back to make it a one-run game when Ty France puts this one down the left field line. In the ninth, the Twins with 2 on, but Trevor Larnach takes a 100-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle, and the Twins lose their 8th straight one-run game, 9-8. And Rocco says changes are coming.
I'm going to try to make some adjustments. Our pitchers are going to make some adjustments. Our defense can do a better job too, because our defense is a part of this as well. But we have to continue to amend what we're doing for the better, make adjustments, and figure this thing out, because we've obviously been giving up some runs, and we've been too far behind in these games.
A big option for the Timberwolves' offseason plans is no longer available, as Kevin Durant was traded today, but not to the Wolves. Instead, he heads to Houston. The deal was done this morning with the Rockets sending Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, and the 10th overall pick in this year's draft, along with 5 second-rounders for the Phoenix Sun star. Durant was rumored to be coming to the Wolves until he put out a list of teams he wanted to go to last week. The Wolves were not on that list. So now perhaps the Wolves will focus on their own potential free agents, Julius Randle, Naz Reid, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Minnesota native Chet Holmgren and the Oklahoma City Thunder with a chance to win an NBA title tonight. A devastating injury early changed the game. Tyrese Halliburton goes down there, which what looked like to be a hamstring injury leads to an easy 2 for the Thunder. Halliburton down and done for the game. The Thunder then take the lead. Alex Caruso will get loose for the basket in close as OKC gives the perfect give and O for the dunk. But the Pacers, despite not having Halliburton, stays in this one, and they take the lead into the half on this 3 by Andrew Nembhard. But in the second half, this game just went final a moment ago, and Oklahoma City pulls away, and they are your NBA champions, winning it 103-91. So Chet Holmgren now with a ring. All right, the Wild also looking to the offseason with the NHL draft this weekend and free agency opening up on July 1st. So tonight on Sports Now, Wild general manager Bill Guerin stopped by to chat about what lies ahead. Wild are finally free of those buyouts of Zach Parise and Ryan Suter, giving Guerin some big bucks to sign free agents and figure out what to do with Marco Rossi. He's the name that's been tossed about so much. Will the Wild keep him? Will he deal him? We talked to Billy about that and much more tonight at 10:35 right here on Fox 9.
All right. Interesting stuff. Spend some money.
Well, they say this is the Wild's Christmas morning. Finally get that money, can open the checkbook. But a lot of the options that fans had targeted for him already signed and stayed with their clubs. So we'll see what he does here. It's going to be very interesting.
All right, time to break out the problem-solving skills. All right,
Jimmy.
Thanks, Jim. Well, plenty of people likely spent time in the movie theaters as a way to try to beat all of that heat this weekend.
And it was a competitive weekend at the box office. A look at the top performers next. But first, Chief Meteorologist Ian Leonard has a preview of the forecast.
I really want to see that How to Train Your Dragon show, but that's beside the fact, because as you look here over the last 6 hours, you'll notice a large red box, a tornado watch in place for northwest Minnesota through 10 p.m., but it's less about the tornado watch and a splaying of strong storms as we head through the overnight. I've got it for you coming up next on Fox at 10.
Taking a look at the box office this weekend, the love of dragons continues to show.
Maybe they're not as bad as we think they are.
In case you forgot, our parents' war is about to become ours. Figure out which side you're on.
Well, as moviegoers flood theaters in the summer heat, the Universal Picture live-action remake of How to Train Your Dragon staying atop the box office. The film earned another $37 million in its second weekend in theaters. The zombie film, 28 years later, earning second place in its debut weekend with $30 million. And Pixar's movie notching third place with $21 million. Fox 9 is just getting started. Your 10 at 10 starts right now.
Next on your 10 at 10, a death on the water at White Bear Lake brings water safety to top of mind. Plus, storms hit northern Minnesota, impacting multiple state parks in that area.
I've seen actually whole buildings totally demolished.
A look at the damage as a new round of storms could bring more issues there. And we continue to bring you the latest developments in the ongoing conflict in the Middle East as the U.S. prepares for a possible military response from Iran.
This is Fox 9 News at 10.
Our top story tonight, authorities say what began as a day out on a boat on White Bear Lake took a tragic turn after a 40-year-old woman had to be pulled from the water this afternoon. And just a short time ago, we've learned that woman died. Fox 9's So-Young Kim joins us live in Delwood. And So-Young, you were there when emergency crews were at the scene trying to help this woman.
Randy, that's right. I spoke with the emergency crews who were out here for several hours earlier this afternoon. They tell me a woman ended up in the water after a boating accident. The windy conditions Sunday afternoon created choppy waves on White Bear Lake. The Washington County Sheriff's Office spokesperson says multiple agencies responded to a boating accident in Delwood just before 3 o'clock. Emergency crews say they were able to locate a 40-year-old woman in shallow water. Authorities say she was in the water for roughly 45 minutes and say responding crews did perform CPR before transporting her to a hospital. This was a joint effort between neighboring fire, rescue, and dive team. And in an update, the Washington County Sheriff's Office says the woman was later pronounced dead at Regions Hospital. Live in Delwood tonight, So-Young Kim, Fox 9.
All right, So-Young, thank you. And even before this story broke, water safety for this summer season has been top of mind for health officials across the state. We previously spoke with an ICU physician at Children's Minnesota who reminds everyone drowning accidents can happen in the blink of an eye. When heading out onto any body of water, it's important to make sure there's a designated watcher who is not distracted or on the phone. Plus, anyone of any age should have life jackets on when out on a boat. And lastly, they say quick action can make a critical difference.
Getting the person out of the water, if the person is unconscious, not breathing, starting CPR as soon as possible, providing rescue breaths, if the person's heart has stopped, doing chest compressions. All these are likely to decrease the chance, the likelihood, or rather improve the likelihood of survival.
Also, they want to remind everyone the new Minnesota boating law goes into effect on July 1st. The DNR says in the first phase, boaters 21 years old and younger will need to get a watercraft operator's permit if operating a jet ski or a boat. Next in the rundown, we want to get to your weather. Chief Meteorologist Ian Leonard joining us now. And Ian, the heat and storms outside the metro have been both big focuses this weekend.
Yeah, you know, the storms Friday night, late Friday night, coming out of North Dakota and working across the Northland. Many people have heard the term before, derecho, a straight line wind event with winds at 90 to 110 miles per hour, causing widespread damage across the northern third of the state. For tonight, we're going to continue to look here off to the southwest. The severe thunderstorm watch outlined in yellow, that's in place until 11 p.m., but these storms are beginning to develop and track here off to the northwest. If you joined us at 9 or earlier today, there was a tornado watch in place for northwest Minnesota that has been allowed to expire at 10 p.m. And at this point, there is a massive gap between the storms here with the severe thunderstorm warning just in International Falls and Couchiching County and the severe thunderstorm watch here well to the south. So as the heat finally begins to fade, so do the storms to the north, but we will keep an eye on storms, including areas around the metro come 5 to 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Now let's talk heat. 95 in the metro, record high 98. Set all the way back in 1911, but it is still brutally warm outside. This after falling short of a record, but well above the average high of 81. We're 90 in the metro, so if you don't have fans and air conditioning, it still feels like 96. It is a miserable, oppressive, sultry kind of evening. We lose the heat, we lose the high humidity tomorrow, and then we start to cool and talk about rounds of heavy rain from Wednesday forward. So still plenty to talk about as we can finally say goodbye heat, goodbye humidity. It's good that they're going away, at least for me. We'll talk about it here in about 10 minutes.
All right, up north in Minnesota, Beltrami County declaring a state of emergency after storms ripped through Bemidji over the weekend. And as Ian just said, they could be bracing for more storms tonight. Fox 9's Leon Purvis joining us now. And Leon, what prompted the state of emergency?
Well, Randy, right now, thousands of people in Bemidji are without power. County officials say there's no word on when everyone will have power restored, but it could take a couple of days as they pick up the pieces.
Our sense of community here has been nothing short of amazing.
Neighbors are helping out neighbors as Beltrami County is under a state of emergency and many are without power.
Our community is living without power, without food, without water, and we're just trying to clean our way out.
County officials say about 4,500 Beltrami electric customers are without power as of Sunday afternoon. For Otter Tail Power Company customers, a spokesperson says it was about 8,000. No power means cleaning up the devastation in high heat and humidity without the relief of air conditioning.
I've seen actually whole buildings totally demolished, where the building is flattened. Roofs completely ripped off and flown over into power lines, insulation everywhere.
Beltrami County Commissioner Craig Gosvig tells Fox 9 he doesn't have an idea when power will be back up for everyone in Bemidji, but it could be several days. Meanwhile, Otter Tail Power Company has 55 crews on the ground to restore power to customers.
We are hoping that we have everyone restored within the next couple of days. Now, as I'm sure you can imagine, as our crews are out and about doing the restoration work, they can often stumble across things that we couldn't have possibly anticipated.
And there's a possibility of more storms rolling through tonight and could potentially impact Beltrami County even more. We'll keep you updated with the latest. Live in studio, Leon Purvis, Fox 9.
All right, Leon, thank you. More developments from the Middle East in the aftermath of the U.S. strikes on Iran. The State Department issuing a worldwide caution alert due to potential actions against U.S. nationals abroad. President Trump calling last night's bombing of 3 Iranian nuclear sites a spectacular military success. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth reinforcing the president only wants peace, noting Iranian troops and people were not targeted in this attack. But Iran says the U.S. crossed a line and will decide the, quote, timing, nature, and scale of the response.
I don't know how much room is left for diplomacy. Iran reserves all options to defend its security.
The United States does not seek war, but let me be clear. We will act swiftly and decisively when our people, our partners, or our interests are threatened.
Iran's longtime ally Russia strongly condemning the U.S. attack, calling it, quote, a gross violation of international law. Protests taking place around the world and in the U.S. in response to that strike. The Iranian president joined people protesting in Tehran, chanting no surrender, battle with America. Anti-war protests also taking place in cities like New York, Los Angeles, Boston, and Washington, D.C. Again, the Trump administration continues to say the country is not planning to go to war, although the president did post on social media earlier today about the possibility of regime change in Iran. Another aspect of this strike on Iran, how it may or may not have an impact on gas prices. Iran is known for its oil production, but Canada and Mexico are actually the U.S.'s top sources for crude oil outside of the U.S. Fox 9's Bab Santos spoke with an expert to learn what kind of impact this military action could have on the oil industry.
This weekend, after the United States military struck nuclear sites in Iran, some people here at home are wondering how Operation Midnight Hammer could have an effect on the price we pay at the pump.
The next 24 hours is very critical to understand what we could potentially see for oil prices moving forward.
Gas Buddy petroleum analyst Patrick DeHaan says the national average, currently sitting at $3.21 per gallon, is likely to go up.
I think the market's probably going to have another knee-jerk reaction, just like it did after the initial Israel attacks on Iran. We could see oil prices going up, but then a day later they could start to recede again. But yeah, I mean, this is a significant escalation that probably will negatively impact oil prices in a pretty sharp way on Sunday night.
Still, DeHaan wants to calm fears, saying that while some have suggested immediate price hikes up to as much as $7 a gallon, he expects an increase around 10 to 30 cents per gallon to a national average around $3.50.
Sunday at about 6 o'clock Eastern time, that's when oil markets will open for electronic trading. I will definitely be sitting at my computer 24 hours from now watching those moments.
DeHaan believes Monday night would be the earliest that we could see the impact on all of this at our local gas stations. Bab Santos, Fox 9.
And those oil markets did open trading at 5 p.m. this evening, as noted there. And in the hours since, world prices are up just 3%. In other news tonight, Bloomington police investigating a homicide tonight. Police say a 24-year-old man was shot and killed. It happened just before 7 a.m. near the 200 block of West 92nd Street. Witnesses say a group of men had been sitting in a driveway when they got into some sort of argument. That's when one man pulled out a gun and shot the victim multiple times. Police say several people of interest are in their sights, but no arrests just yet. In national headlines, a popular children's cough syrup is being pulled from store shelves over concerns about possible bacterial contamination. The FDA says MedTech Products is recalling some of its Little Remedies honey cough syrup. Bacteria was detected in the medicine and it could cause stomach illness. The FDA says there have been no illnesses, though, reported so far. And in Michigan, authorities say church staff prevented a potential mass shooting this morning in Wayne, Michigan, just west of Detroit. Police say parishioners saw the gunman driving recklessly in the parking lot. He then got out wearing a tactical vest, carrying weapons. When he began firing, police say a car drove at the gunman and hit him with the vehicle. A security guard who was shot in the leg eventually shot the gunman, killing him. No one else was injured. A motive for the shooting is unclear tonight. Still ahead tonight, many of you know what Ian's major involvement with helping Special Olympics is all about. Well, it was a big weekend here in the Twin Cities for that, as the U of M hosting the games this summer. I'll look at all the fun during this weekend's competition next on your 10 to 10. This weekend, more than 2,000 athletes took part in the Special Olympics Minnesota Summer Games. They were held at the University of Minnesota, where athletes showed off skills in everything from track and field to basketball to swimming to gymnastics and more. The event is made possible each year by 850 coaches and 1,700 volunteers. And that includes Fox 9's Ian Leonard, who emceed the opening ceremonies.
Okay, so everybody, this is a television camera from Fox 9, and we're going to show everybody out there.
Ian has been volunteering with Special Olympics for 28 years now, and despite the heat, the games went on this weekend, keeping the forecast in mind. You made some adjustments.
Yeah, we had to make some adjustments. We didn't have any competitions outside after noon on Saturday, and the University of Minnesota was great at you know, kind of rolling with everything from the field house to swimming and basketball. By the way, Chris Pash, great friend of mine from our Polar Plunge team, his son won state gold for the basketball competition. You know, I tell everybody and anybody who will listen, if you come with me to one competition and just hang out with me and meet the athletes and see the competition, your feet won't touch the ground for a week. It is the greatest inclusive community ever. And 28 years later, I'm still rolling. I'm not going anywhere. It's the greast.
They let you in with those legs and everything every year in and year out.
I thank you for noticing. I did apologize at one point on the stage for my legs. You and I were live with the Twins.
I know.
So I went to campus. I couldn't get over to Northrop. I ran across campus. My wife had brought some of my other special pants.
Yeah.
Didn't have time to connect, so I just ran in the back of the auditorium what I was wearing at the Twins game, and it was fine.
Nobody cared.
Well, I'm a little self-conscious on stage with these babies out there in shorts, but it was great.
It was good.
It was super
the crowd loved it.
Yeah. And Special Olympics Minnesota. By the way, 363 days from today is the big USA Special Olympics Games right here, the national games at the University of Minnesota. You want to help, you want to volunteer, you want to be a part of it all, just head to Special Olympics Minnesota on the website and they can take care of it.
They need like 15,000 volunteers.
At least.
Yeah,
at least.
Yeah.
And that's people to do like, you know, parking patrols to hanging out in the venues and everywhere in between. So if you'd love to help and you can't quite figure it out, just email me, ian.leonard@fox.com, and I'll help you get involved. Now, look, let's get involved with the forecast here for a minute. We're looking off here to the southwest. Severe thunderstorm watch. The storm is beginning to blossom, and keep in mind from the heat and humidity we had all weekend long, those storms are riding into a fairly storm-rich environment. The tornado watch that was northwest Minnesota, that expired at 10 p.m. and right now it is exactly what we like to call severe clear. So once I strip away the clouds, there are a few very small storms working around International Falls, northern Couchiching County, down to Beltrami County. Like, think about what happened this past Friday. So from Grand Forks and Fargo, there was a straight line wind event that came across the Northland like that. Winds at 90 to 110 miles per hour. The blowdown in and around Bemidji is massive. That's why there is a state of emergency in the city of Bemidji at this hour. Massive power cuts. Think about all the big trees coming down on the power line. So there's a live look at storm vision. Severe clear right now? Absolutely. As we look for more storms to develop there along the Minnesota River Valley and eventually track east between 5 and 7 a.m. tomorrow. 95 degrees in the metro today, 91 in Hinckley, 69 in Duluth. So we are well above our average high of 81. Didn't quite get into record high territory, and at this hour it's 90 in the metro, 88 in Red Wing, and 87 in Mankato. But there's the feels like the heat index still into the 90s. It is deep, it is sultry. It is going to be tough to sleep without air conditioning or fans, even with that wind out of the south at 10 to 20 miles per hour. So let's talk about this. The heat